Welcome, everyone, to Rutgers at the voice of college football. I'm here with my fantastic co host, Gabriel Pickup, and we have an awesome show here for you tonight. We're going to begin by talking about, of course, the NFL draft. Then we're going to move forward to Rutgers' new commitments, followed by a discussion of the spring game and spring honors. So we have a great show for you. We welcome, of course, your calls and comments. And if you like this show, hit that like and subscribe button. So, Gabe, let's start out with a very dramatic weekend in the NFL.
Yes.
The draft produced some surprises, and there's some that relate to Rutgers. So, get us started off. What happened this weekend?
Yeah, so the big NFL draft, days 1 and 2, not much talk of Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Adam and I were both a little pessimistic, but both of us said it's not very likely that a Scarlet Knight will be drafted day 3. But not to quote LeBron here, but we had not one, not two, not three. Oh yeah, we had three. Okay, 3 Scarlet Knights drafted. In the 6th round, we had Robert Longerbeam get picked by the Ravens, pick 212. I will continue to say it due to how awesome the effort is. He talked with every single NFL team, and it's deserving that he heard his name called on Saturday. In the 7th round, we had Keontae Hamilton and Kyle Monangai. Hamilton was picked 224th by the Texans, started 51 straight games to finish his Scarlet Knights career, and Kyle Monangai, 233rd selection by the Chicago Bears. Now, Holland Pierce and company were not drafted, and but overall, this is certainly one of the better results you could have imagined coming into day 3.
And Monangai's going where?
Chicago Bears.
Ah, seems like a good fit for him. Let me ask you this: any Rutgers players go with undrafted free agents going to sign with the team?
Yeah, lots. So I can run through that real quick. We have for undrafted free agent deals, Holland Pierce to the Eagles. Now, that is probably my favorite fit out of the bunch. He was actually my personal favorite prospect out of the bunch, and I think that he will turn out the best. So yeah, like I said, I think he's not only the best undrafted free agent out of all the Rutgers Scarlet Knights, but I think he's going to be the best undrafted free agent in the NFL.
Wow, that is a bold prediction. Hope it comes true. So,
Yes,
all right.
and we have several more, but I'll let you say your opinion on that if you have one.
Well, first, I'm proud that we've got players from Rutgers that were drafted. But when I think about it, I'm like, let's see, what's the realistic possibility that these are going to become impact players, or players who are in the NFL for a number of years? Let's start out with Kyle Monangai. What's your
Yeah.
what's your projection of his place in the NFL, where he can make an impact? What do you think?
So I think that his ceiling is Sony Michel, but that's if he gets a chance. Obviously, his floor is not making the day 1 roster, but the fact that he was drafted is huge because he's guaranteed money, right? Probably more than even a guy like him could have gotten in college, because he was a senior and the NIL is on the up, and he didn't get to experience the peak of NIL really, because while we thank him, staying at Rutgers didn't do him any justice in the financial department. So getting drafted is huge for him, and that makes his floor a little higher than it would have been if he was undrafted. How are you doing, Mr. Exploring with Ben and Sam? I'm wearing your color today. I accidentally keep wearing it on Monday shows.
Oh, we're going to be talking about the Ducks here in just a minute because of big development in the draft. Exploring with Ben and Sam, thank you so much for having me as a guest on your show last night. Austin, always great to see you. Now, I'll tell you who Monangai reminds me of, and you're too young to remember this. Joe Morris from the early '90s New York Giants.
Right over
5'8", 5'8". He was stocky and he ran like Monangai. He was tough, strong, gritty. I think Monangai can be, a 3rd down and 2 kind of running back, situational running back that
Yeah.
can provide value to teams.
Yep, I can totally see that. And real quick, I also wanted to give a mention to the rest of these undrafted free agents before we got into comparing and predicting the rest of them. So I said Holland Pierce to the Eagles, best undrafted free agent in the NFL. Demir Miller signed a deal with the Jets. Now, I hope my previous speculations about Mr. Demir Miller are untrue because I have to root for him twice now, once as the Scarlet Knight and now as a member of the New York Jets if he makes the roster. And I'm happy to see 2 Scarlet Knights with my 2 favorite teams in the NFL, and Desmond Igbinosun with the Ravens, undrafted free agent. Shaquan Loyal, Bengals. Now, it's funny because between Igbinosun with the Ravens, Robert Longerbeam obviously getting drafted by the Ravens, pick 212, and then we have Shaquan Loyal going to the Bengals. There's a little bit of an AFC North Rutgers rivals from brothers to foes, assuming that everyone makes the roster. And then Tyreen Powell got signed to the Saints, and in my opinion, he 100% should have been drafted. He was one of the big leaders of our defense last year, and I look for him, even as a young guy, as a rookie, to be a vocal leader in the locker room. Now, Eric Rogers, he got undrafted free agent deal with the Chargers, and I will say the Chargers are great at developing a secondary defense, especially with Mr. Coach Jim Harbaugh. I keep mixing them up. Jim Harbaugh is the Chargers coach. John is the Ravens. Okay. With Mr. Jim Harbaugh. See, I know who they are. I just keep mixing up the Jim and John names. But one last guy, two last guys. Long snapper Austin Riggs, Vikings rookie minicamp. We wish him luck. And Christian Dremel going to the Giants rookie minicamp.
Yeah, there's some really talented Rutgers players in that undrafted free agent category. And I think some of them are actually going to make a team. And I think that, the future for some of these players, we don't know yet, but proud to see them get drafted. Now, I have to say there was some other news in the draft, some surprises. And I have my top 5 monumental moments from the draft that, some may think are controversial, some may not. And I want to just talk with you briefly about what do you think are your kind of top 4 or 5 moments that really shocked us? If you want, I'll go first. But hey,
no, you know what? Speaking of top 5 lists, where's your blindfold at?
Okay, so we had a bet about who would pick the top 5 accurately. Gabe won, and I was supposed to wear a blindfold today. But then I realized that the bet was made. There were procedural violations made when the bet was done. So therefore,
what the hell are you talking about?
In other words, I'm a sore loser. I forgot to wear the blindfold, but I will wear it on our other show this week.
Yeah, of course.
I'm going to. I have 5 controversial things to say, and everybody here is going to love it. What'd you say? Go ahead.
I was going to say, run through your 5 first, because I didn't make any list. I certainly have some moments, though. And one of them is really sad, but the other ones are very, very inspirational and controversial.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I'm going to tell you my 5 things, and I have a poem to go along with it that really you're going to love. So,
I'm sorry, Dylan Gabriel, in advance.
The number 1 pick in the draft, Cam Ward, I predict will be a bust.
Oh.
I did never believe that Cam Ward was a number 1 pick. It was a weak quarterback class. I think it was a huge risk. And if he's not a bust, I don't think he's going to be what he is projected to be. Number 2, big surprise for the New York Giants, in my view, at 26, going with Jackson Dart. The Ole Miss. I mean, he's did some great stuff at Ole Miss after it transferred from USC, but I'm not so sure that he's going to be able to have a sustainable career in the NFL. We'll see. Number 3, Jalen Milroe going in the 3rd round. Huge upside with Milroe. Ran a 4.40, great athleticism, but struggles to read defenses and isn't really accurate on those intermediate and short routes. We're going to see how Milroe develops. It could go either way, but I think a couple of years as a backup is going to tell the story when he gets his chance. I predict that probably he's going to be more of a package type player rather than a starter. And then we come to the tragic news of the NFL draft. And we owe this time at this point to remember fondly and in loving memory, Oregon Duck, Mr. Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel was a fine, fine person. He's person with a future in the NFL. Those futures came to a tragic end during the draft. And I have a poem in honor of Mr. Gabriel that I would like to read in remembrance of Mr. Gabriel. Rest in peace, my friend. And it's very quick. He had a good run of luck as a pretty young duck.
Ooh.
And then you couldn't detect a frown when he was drafted by the Cleveland Browns. But
Okay.
just as he had illusions of grandeur, they were dashed when the Browns drafted Shador.
Shador.
So, of Dylan Gabriel, of course, is alive and well. My point being this: why in God's name would you select Dylan Gabriel, who is a very good quarterback? He's got an NFL arm. He's very accomplished, and then go and select Shador in the 5th round. You know the writing's on the wall here for Gabriel, and I think Gabriel should be really pissed off. I mean, if you're going to commit to a
Me?
quarterback, commit to him.
Why would I be pissed off?
What? Because
Why would
you're
I-
wearing a green shirt. You're on the Gabriel bandwagon. You're a Gabriel groupie. So my point is, what are you doing drafting? I could see Dylan Gabriel being so thrilled one moment, and then they draft Shador. He's like, oh, for God's sake.
Let me add on to that really quickly, and then I think you probably have 1 or 2 other points, correct?
Nope.
You said you had a top 5?
Those were my 5.
Okay.
Ward, Dart, Milrow, Gabriel, the death of Gabriel, and Shador.
All right, so you kind of combined 5 into a 4A, 4B. I respect it. Now, when it comes to that situation, it's one point you forgot to mention is Shador and Dion were probably pissed when the Browns drafted Gabriel, and now they have to be cordial, be friends, and grow with him.
Right. So here's the thing. I think that the Browns were actually speaking through these picks by giving Shador the middle finger by selecting Gabriel, and then giving Gabriel the middle finger by selecting Shador. What they were basically saying is, Shador, we want you, but we want you to know where your place is before and get a little bit of that humble pie in you before we draft you. And if you notice, yeah.
Kenny Pickett is the betting favorite to start, but Shador Sanders is the second favorite in a room of 5 quarterbacks. There's Dylan Gabriel 3rd, and then it's Joe Flacco 4th, and Mr. Deshaun Watson, massage enthusiast at 5th.
Yeah, and I'm really upset for Gabriel. I respect him as a player, and I think that he got screwed, and I think the Browns did it. They tried to do it in a little tricky little way to make it seem like they weren't doing what they were doing. But if I were Gabriel, I'd be pissed, and I would want out.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're Shador, that's what happens when you only talk to the top 5 teams and you're not selected in the top 5. But
yeah, and by the way, Gabe, you got to admit that was a great poem. I mean, look at the sun. God's smiling on me.
Oh yeah, I mean, look what our pal Austin said here. Adam spitting fire. I mean, that's the truth. I make some rap music, but Adam is a true poet.
Yes, Walt Whitman does not hold a candle to Adam Lamparello.
There's a Walt Whitman bridge about 20 minutes away from me. There's going to be an Adam Lamparello bridge the other side of Philadelphia.
Absolutely. When I see you, I'm going to give you this poem as a gift. You're going to love it.
And okay, so my top 5. Again, I did not make a list, so this is kind of off the dome. And I have to be a Debbie Downer and start off sad here because there's one thing that you didn't mention. And, I get it because, obviously, if you're reading a poem about Dylan Gabriel and Shador Sanders, you don't want to bring it up. But there's one really tragic moment, and that is, well, I guess it's sort of bittersweet, but Derek Harmon, Pittsburgh Steelers first-round draft pick, his mom, who was in ICU at the time, she had a stroke in 2019. I'm not sure if I think it's 2019. It might have been 2017. Yes, definitely rest in peace. She passed away just moments after he got drafted, and he got to go to the hospital room and tell her that he got drafted. I'm not sure if she was conscious at that moment, if she said anything back to him. I just know that is what I've said. That is the 100% truth, and she did pass away moments after. So definitely rest in peace to his mom.
Yes, rest in peace to his mom. Very tragic, but had a beautiful last moment with her. So
yes, and yeah, she got to, whether she was conscious or fading into the light of the man above, she was at least here while he got his ultimate wish come true. And moving,
very well said, Gabe.
Thank you. So that was, I guess, the number 1 moment for me. Number 2 was, look, I got to look up his name here because I don't want to butcher it. I think it was Raiders. Was it the Raiders that drafted? There was obviously the New Orleans attack, and that was New Year's Eve going into New Year's Day. and a man who lost his brother got drafted in the first round or second round, one of the two. And oh no, you know what? It wasn't that he was on the Saints, but he went to LSU. I think he was a wide receiver at LSU. I don't remember his name though.
I don't remember his name either, but it's amazing the personal stories behind the scenes, huh?
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And then, so I've gotten the two serious moments out of the way. My number 3 is selfishly going to be the Rutgers guys getting drafted, because I didn't think any of them would get drafted going into day 3, and we got 3 of them getting drafted, and then a whole bunch signing deals after the fact.
Hey, I think that, yeah, well said again. What else do you got for us on that?
Number 4 would be the fact, again, no shade to Shedeur, but he wasn't the first Sanders to get drafted. There was another Sanders that got drafted before him, and I think that was in round 3 or round 4.
Right.
Again, this is all off the dome, so I don't have his name in front of me, but yeah, so Shedeur was not the first Sanders to get drafted.
Were you surprised at the Michigan corner? Was it Will Johnson?
Will Johnson, a slide to the second round. That was unbelievable.
Shocked me.
And, oh, okay. My number 5, but it's really going to be the number 1 most remembered moment, was ESPN's Mel Kiper absolutely melting down after Shedeur Sanders finally got drafted in the 5th round by the Cleveland Browns. I don't know have you seen the clip, Adam, of him going absolutely crazy on his colleagues?
No, I haven't, but I'm not a big fan of Kiper because he's just so often so
But
wrong.
you know what? It made me respect Reese Davis, because Reese Davis is in a world full of clickbait and yelling equals content, yelling equals being right. He kept his composure and argued his side with points and logic instead of just screaming and
I'm going to check that out.
Projecting blame on everybody else. But basically, Mel Kiper, after Shedeur finally got drafted, he went on a 1:30 rant about how the NFL doesn't know how to scout a quarterback, and he does know how to scout a quarterback. He said that Shedeur should have been drafted 1st overall. He said that Shedeur and Travis Hunter are the 2 best players in the draft. And it was, to me, kind of like, it was almost beautiful to see someone be so wrong, but then just projecting the error and blaming everybody.
He's pissed because he's embarrassed that he was wrong, and he's trying to justify it. And I knew he would be wrong. I'm not impressed by him at all.
I didn't think Shedeur would be drafted in the 1st round. Would I be telling the truth if I told you he'd be drafted in the 5th round? No, I thought it would be like 2nd round, maybe 3rd.
Yeah, that's what you predicted that.
With that being said, Mel Kiper previously, his biggest draft slide, I believe it was Jimmy Clausen, and he projected him 7th, and he went 41st. And after that, he said, if Jimmy Clausen is not a successful quarterback, I will retire.
Well, he's not retired yet.
Nope.
Yeah, when
maybe
Jimmy Clausen,
that means Jimmy Clausen.
When Clausen was
maybe that means he comes back and
going to win 4 Heismans. It really unbelievable.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I see David in there. Yes, go blue, and yeah, Burks did end Dan's YouTube career. That is correct. And exploring with Ben and Sam, I got to tell you, you are correct. A shocker that Trayshawn Holden not drafted.
I don't know if that's on my end or his. I take it he saw some shut down his whole internet.
Who are you talking about?
Hello, check.
Yeah, can you hear me? Gabe, you're frozen. Okay, well, Gabe, can you hear me now?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
One second, I'm switching Wi-Fi here.
Gabe has computer difficulties, but yeah, Trayshawn Holden not getting drafted was a stunner. But I think Will Johnson going in a 2nd surprised me. But
can you hear me? I should be good now.
Yes, I can. I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, but to me the biggest
sorry
stunner,
about that. I think my Wi-Fi got out.
It's okay. To me the biggest stunner was the intentional murder of Dylan Gabriel. He's in our hearts. He's in our thoughts. He's in our prayers. Cleveland Browns, it should be ashamed for what we did for that young man. Dylan, go somewhere else where you're appreciated.
And to finish my point, Adam, about the Jimmy Clausen, like the festival that was, it was still 90 picks better than his projections with Shedeur Sanders. So he was 139 picks incorrect with Shedeur Sanders because he had him going 5 and he slid to 144.
Yes. And I have to interrupt you, Gabe, because this is a very special moment for Rutgers at the Voice of College Football right now. The creator of the Voice of College Football, the person who makes this all possible, Mr. Mark Rogers, has joined us, and we are honored with his presence. Hello, Mark. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us. The floor is yours.
Uh-oh.
Mark might be having technical difficulties too. A very strange day after the NFL draft.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you.
Hey,
Mark, how's it going? Thanks for being here.
I'm doing great. Have you noticed why I might be in your backstage here? I'm fixing your background. We're just doing a little technical work backstage. So
got you.
I'll maybe see you guys at a later date, but let's make sure that we got you guys lined up here. Let's see, and I'll get out of the way, and you guys should be all lined up with your new background.
Thanks, Mark. We appreciate it.
I'll let you guys continue. I'll stop by at some point.
Okay.
Absolutely. We'd love to have
a good
you.
show.
I'm really starting to. This is our best show. All of these weird things are happening.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone.
Yeah. So let's go on to our second segment now. I'm going to turn this over to you because you've got the intel on the new commitments to Rutgers. Who are they, and does it matter?
Yeah, so it 100% does matter. Moshood Giwa. I will need time to pronounce his name correctly. I'm going to type it in the chat, and you tell me how you would pronounce it, Adam.
Moshood Giwa.
Okay, so I think I got that right.
I do not want to talk about this gentleman. I want to talk about Mohamed Toure.
Oh, God. We can talk about that at a later date because
Benedict Arnold of Rutgers football.
He may or may not be going to Penn State, so we'll have to see how that turns out. If he goes to Penn State, I think Adam's going to suffer a heart attack. Now, when it comes to the guys that are here, because we're focusing on the current guys, Moshood Giwa commits redshirt freshman offensive lineman from LIU, and he's from Brooklyn, so not moving too far. 6'6", 302 pounds. He attended Moore Catholic High School and it appeared in 11 games in 2024. So he should provide some much-needed depth, especially after Shedrick Moore leaves us, and he'll slide right in that depth chart. And look for him to see action because, like I said, he appeared in 11 games last year, so he should be consistently on the field.
Okay.
And our second guy, Brandon Murray, he has committed, and he is currently in high school, and we won't see him next year. And like Austin said, and that's what I told Adam before the show started when he was having technical difficulties, deep breaths. It'll be okay. So Brandon Murray, 3-star class of 2026 from Battlefield High School, which what a name that is, by the way. Anyone that goes to a high school called Battlefield High School, I will take on this team. And that school is located in Haymarket, Virginia. So he's known for speed, plays both ends, but was recruited as cornerback. 21 tackles, 4 for loss, 20 pass breakups, 1 interception, and this is all per Rutgers Rivals. Now, he is the third 2026 defensive back commit that we have joining Sebastian Cruz and Chris Hewitt Jr. He ran a 4.55 40-yard dash, which is faster than our running back that just got drafted. So to me, that shows that he can make a good impact on this team. And like I said, he's known for his speed. So there's when you look at this class overall, right, the 2026 class, we've gotten 7 guys. They're all at least 3 stars. So we have 3 2026 4 stars and 4 3 stars. A little loop-de-doop there. And it's looking like 2026 is going to be a good year for those freshmen.
Yes, I have predicted that 2026 will be the magical year for Rutgers and for me, as a matter of fact. But I will say this about 2025. Rutgers lost a lot of personnel, particularly on defense, And it's interesting that this team is really going to be comprised, at least a substantial portion of starters, of the transfers and the new recruits. And when you look at them, Cam Miller in the secondary, Jet Elod from UNLV at safety, Doug Blue Eli and other James Madison from USF and some James Madison beefing up the defensive line. CJ Campbell from FIU coming in to fortify that backfield. So we've got some real talent, size, and experience coming in for Rutgers. It's going to be interesting to see how they coalesce and whether they can contend in the Big Ten. I think it's one of those either-or years. I think they're either going to go 5-7 or 6-6 or shock everyone with 9-3.
Yeah, I mean, 9-3 is definitely the ceiling because you look at Oregon, Penn State, Ohio State, and you say they're going to lose at least 2 of those. They might lose all 3. And, in fact, they probably will lose all 3. But then you go through the calendar, and there's too many 50-50 games for me to say it'll be 9-3. But, like Adam said, like this defense and even offense, too, the offense maintained its strength and kind of shifted identities. So, and, because it's running back by committee, but then we have a better overall wide receiving core. And we have a sick tight end, too, Colin Weaver. I can't wait to see what he does. And our offensive line has stayed intact for the most part. Losing Holland Pierce does suck. But, with some of these new transfers, Moshe Giwa should fit in perfectly. And, 7 guys already committed for 2026 when 2025 hasn't even started yet. That's a great sign.
Yeah, and no discussion about the incoming transfers would be complete unless we talk about D.T. Sheffield, or what I call T.D. Sheffield. He's going to light up the field this year. He's going to score a lot of touchdowns. And I see Austin there telling me, we need you for the next 25 years. Take a deep breath. Well, Austin, we are now entering dangerous territory with segment 3 because I could already feel my blood pressure rising, and I don't need this because I'm 49 years old, and guess what? My arteries constrict when I think about what I'm about to say. The spring game, Gabe, the offense can only manage 14 points.
Oh, Lord.
Break. They're finished. Ethan, you didn't even show up. You don't want to come on the show. All right. Well, you've been disinvited now. Then you don't go to the spring game. I don't like it. We got problems here. You got to help me out here because I don't want to get the defibrillator.
Wait until you find out how they scored points 8 through 14.
You mean it's going to get worse?
Yeah. Well, it's heartwarming, but it gets worse from a technical standpoint. You want to hear how? So they were down 7-13, and they were at the 5-yard line. Right, time was about to expire, and they had a make-a-wish moment. They brought in a kid at running back, and they let him get the touchdown, and that's how they got 14.
This is ridiculous. So
but it's a great moment. Don't get me wrong. It's a great moment, but it technically should only be 7 points.
So it kind of reminds me of when they were playing Nebraska. They had first down and goal on the 3-yard line, couldn't punch it in, huh? So they make it a sentimental moment to avoid the inevitability of once again falling short. Look, I'm going to tell it like it is. I want to see Ethan Kelly Kamanis playing in the damn game. Oh, what he doesn't want to play because he's afraid he's going to get injured? Forget it. And then
You know what? To counteract that, AJ Surris, who is supposed to be our alleged starting quarterback for your magical 2026 year, he did play, and he had a good game. He looked nice. He went 15 of 24, 220 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions.
Blah.
That's a good game because our secondary was all starting.
No, it's even worse news because if the Rutgers backup QB can come in and torch that secondary with all their starters, the defense didn't play well, the offense didn't play well. I don't need this.
You're looking at it as water bottle is 3/4 empty. I'm looking at it as I still have a quarter of a water bottle left.
Well, when I have a keg, I look at the keg always as half full.
Oh, okay. So if this was beer,
half full kind of guy.
Yeah, I got you. So
that was 20 years ago, not now.
I think it was just Coach Schiano looking to see what AJ Surris could do. And, he wasn't the only backup playing on that offense. Vernon Allen III, wide receiver, he is not anywhere near the depth chart at the moment, but he had a solid game. He had 5 catches for 98 yards. And then,
14 points.
obviously, so the thing is, right, the reason why I'm optimistic coming out of that game is we had the numbers on offense, but the score on defense.
But the thing is that what were the backup quarterback's numbers?
15 for 24, 220 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions.
Audience, do you hear this? 15 of 24, over 200 yards, no turnovers against Rutgers' starting defense, the backup QB.
But only got 7 points out of it.
I know, but that doesn't really. I guess you're positive, I'm negative, and it's a good it complements each other. But then the offense can't move the ball and get more than 8 points on a defense. I mean, I don't understand this. So the quarterback has thrown for over 200 yards, no turnovers, but they don't score any points. The defense has given up to the backup quarterback over 200 yards. Shiano was right in his last presser where he said we've got a long way to go.
Long way to go, but this is the time to do it. And speaking of long way to go, you want to talk about some guys that have made strides in the offseason? Because we got some awards to talk about too.
Yeah, so our last segment before we get to our good friend Austin, who's called in, we got some awards to talk about regarding Rutgers. Gabe, why don't you talk to us about that?
Yes, sir. So for the 2025 Spring Awards, now I have here the Mark Mills Second Effort Award. Cover your name for his last name, but this award goes to Fama Toure. Now, it was named in memory of former Scarlet Knight running back Mark Mills, obviously, and awarded to the offensive player who, through determination, dedication, and hard work, has shown the most improvement during the offseason and spring practices. So he's a second-string wide receiver, but he should get consistent reps in the offense early and often because we have KJ Duff, right? We have Ian Strong, DT Sheffield. That's our starting three. But then you have Ben Black, who should have some plays called specifically for him because of his sheer talent and youth and speed. But also, I mean, Fama Toure, wide receiver 5, which means in certain situations he will be on the field. And if there's any injury, which you hope that there isn't, but there will be, he'll be on the field as an everyday player or every week player.
Yeah, I got to tell you, when I think about Athan, I think about that wide receiver room of Strong, Duff, Sheffield. In all honesty, I joke around a little bit before, but seriously, when you look at that wide receiver room, and you look at the running back room with Antoine Raymond, Jashawn Benjamin, CJ Campbell, and you look at Athan developing into a legitimate top-tier starter, with that experienced offensive line, Rutgers can do a lot of damage. Of course, they're not going to score a lot of points in the spring game. Obviously, some starters are going to stay out. But when you look at the defense, too, with that size and experience on the defensive line and what I think is going to be a really talented secondary, this means to me that Rutgers might be in a position to pull out those close wins that they didn't pull out against teams like Illinois, UCLA, and even maybe, dare I say, Penn State and Drew Aller, who likes to throw the ball to the other team.
You want to hear something crazy about Drew Aller? You want to hear something crazy?
Yes,
I don't know if you're ready.
The game with 38 seconds left when he should have thrown it away.
Well, that is crazy, but what else is crazy is he's the second most likely guy next year if he declares to go number 1 overall.
Oh no, please.
According to every betting page out there, it goes Archie. That's his
Arch.
Yeah, Arch. It goes Arch number 1 for most likely, and then your good pal Drew Aller.
I don't need this. He's not going number 1. He throws the ball to the other team. I mean, and what I see from Drew Aller is he's got all the physical tools, but I feel like when he's under pressure, he really struggles. And I'm just not so. If he's the number 1 pick, well, that's not a great quarterback class, in my opinion. I think Arch Manning goes ahead of him.
Oh yeah, I think so too. And in fact, I'm not promoting the gambling of it, but I will personally be betting on Arch Manning to go number 1 next year.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, but we can transition to the defense, but I want to hear, because it sounds like you're not finished talking about Drew Aller.
No, I'm not finished talking about Drew Aller. And you know what? I'm not, because all I heard last year was Drew Aller is the next great quarterback, and I heard whispers that Dylan Raiola was the next
Lord,
Patrick Mahomes. Let me tell you something. Nebraska's starting QB is actually an actor playing the role of Dylan Raiola. As far as Drew Aller goes, I watched him against Ohio State get shut down because when he's under duress, when he goes against a good defense, he gets a little pass happy and decides to throw the ball around, and it goes into the other team's hands. I saw that. I saw in the playoff game with 38 damn seconds left. All right.
Yeah, sure.
If your first read ain't there, throw it out of bounds. What does he do? He says, you know what? I'm fighting for the Irish. And
you know what? You know who else had interception problems coming out of college?
Who?
Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning had interception problems? I remember Peyton Manning in the Super Bowl that one year at Giant Stadium. He threw like 4 interceptions. Couldn't, Peyton Manning's overrated. Enough of him.
Oh, come on. All right, let's change the topic.
And, look, all I'm saying is that Mr. Discount Double Check, Aaron Rodgers is better. How you doing?
If you slander Mr. Peyton Manning,
you have a problem with the truth. I'm just saying.
If you slander Mr. Peyton Manning again, I will come down to your classes in Georgia and tell them all how bad of a debater and podcast host you are, even if you're a good
Peyton
one.
Manning did not win the Super Bowl when he was with the Broncos. He did not win it.
Yeah, he did.
No, he didn't. The other players did.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. But
no, Peyton Manning, of course, one of the best quarterbacks in the history of college football. No question.
He's on the Mount Rushmore in both college football quarterbacks and NFL quarterbacks.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And one thing about Peyton Manning that all young players can take is that from day one, when he got drafted, he was a student of the game, a truly, truly intelligent person, one of the best players in history, and a great, great man of great character. So all jokes aside, Peyton, you're someone that people should aspire to be as a player person.
And unfortunately, I, just like him, can have a helicopter land on my forehead, but it's okay.
It is what it is. But I'm going to tell you, next year, the question that's going to be on my mind for the next 365 days is, where will Dylan Gabriel be next year?
Anyways, we went down a little rabbit hole there. We were talking about the Mark Mills Award. I don't know how that happened.
I don't know, but you know what? This is one of those shows where weird things are happening. And so maybe right now is a good time to bring on Austin, our good friend, to join in the weird and give us hustle. Because I'm feeling a little woozy right now. I'm starting to see 3 of everything. So I guess I just have to hit the one in the middle. Anyway,
Austin, I just wanted to say, good pal. I have 2 more things to go through, and then the stage is all yours. But if you have anything to say about these, go right for it, because it'll be really quick. What did you do?
Go for it, Gabe. This is your all show. I'll sit back and admire the Rutgers knowledge.
Apparently, it's Adam's show.
Gabe, people want to look at me, so they'll hear you and they'll listen to me and they'll look at me.
Oh, my Lord. What? Oh, my goodness. All right. Anyways, the last 2 awards, real quick. Douglas A. Smith, second effort award. Zaire Ngoy, named in memory of former Scarlet Knight defensive tackle Doug Smith and awarded to the defensive player who, through determination, dedication, and hard work, has shown the most improvement during the offseason and spring practices. Second string nose tackle, again, depending on how we use our front 7, would get good reps in a 4-3 set. And unfortunately, with Mr. Mo Toure gone, it seems like we might be running a 4-3 set. And another defensive tackle has also stepped up in the offseason, and I love this competitive energy because we have a real beefy front, and that's what Adam likes, is a beefy front. Frank R. Burns Award, DJ Allen, also defensive tackle, and that's what I was referencing before. Named after former Scarlet Knight All-America quarterback Frank Burns, and awarded to the player who demonstrates extraordinary mental and physical toughness during the spring. If both these guys are not starting, which it doesn't seem like they will be, we may finally have a strong defensive depth and enough meat on the D-line. That's it.
Well, one thing I got to tell you, Gabe, I'm sorry. If you're a second string nose tackle, no respect. You got to mention Paul Robeson. The award that he deserves an award every day of the year for eternity, and the Paul Robeson Day in New Jersey is a day that's going to live in infamy. Austin, you should come visit us there in the Garden State on Paul Robeson Day. How you doing, Austin? I'm trying to calm down, so maybe you can help me out here.
So here's the thing. I've come to bring the peace to this party because
Gabe is
And
being so
Gabe-
rude today.
Well, here's the thing. Let me bring the piece to you, Adam. Look at this spring game as the preseason. Just a good look at what Rutgers could be. This isn't a final product. This isn't what they're going to be once we kick off in late August. Look at this as warm up, getting back into it, just shaking the rust off. Let's not worry. Let's not panic. Let's all take a deep breath.
And when
All
it
right.
comes to the preseason, guess what, Adam? The Browns 2018, who went 0-16, they went 4-0 in the preseason. And guess what else? The Eagles, speaking of helicopter, there's a helicopter flying right over me.
What, a helicopter parent? I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's going to land on my forehead.
Why do you have to bring up the Browns? Poor Dylan Gabriel. He had a future. He had a life.
Guess what? The Eagles, the year that they won the Super Bowl, they went 0-3 in the preseason. And the Patriots, when they went 16-0, went 0-4 in the preseason. So preseason, very irrelevant. And if that's what this seems like it is, which it seems like it is, then we can take away the good moments. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's the thing too, Adam. I understand what you see on the field is not a good start. But like Gabe said, there is plenty of time to turn this around. Maybe Rutgers doesn't want to give too much away right now. Maybe they're like, if we show it all now, we won't have anything later on. So they're saving the best stuff for later on.
Well, look, I love Rutgers so much. I love Coach Ciano and the players. So guess what? They've got my faith through good or bad and in sickness and in health. So I'll stay optimistic.
Yeah, you've been a little optimistic today.
Hey, Gabe, stop piling on, okay? You do the show from outside. All of a sudden, you're a different person.
It's getting dark out here, but I'll speak my mind through the light and the dark.
And here's the thing, too. And here's the thing, too, guys, about the spring games. I kind of always have looked at it as just a kind of getting back in and get back in shape kind of form. Like, I don't put much stock into it. I don't know. Like, obviously, it seems like Adam puts quite a bit into it. Gabe, I don't know how much you necessarily put into it, but I kind of look at it as the warm-ups, kind of get back, get to know your team, get to know your coaching staff, get the feeling back, start hitting somebody again. That's kind of how I look at it.
It's for the fans.
Yeah.
I mean, we had Max Melton being an MC out there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think, Austin, you're right. And, in all seriousness, certainly they're not – it's not like a game, and they're just kind of, feeling their way out there. But there are certain indicators that I'm looking for. Number one, I'm not happy that Ethan Cali-Kamanis sits out. Number two, I'm a little bit worried that the backup quarterback looked like Tom Brady against the defensive starters. But you're right. It's a work in progress. I guess after last season, though, I want to see Rutgers break through that brick wall, win 9 or 10 games, and make the playoff. And I don't think this year is going to be the year. But, again, we'll see. We'll see. Ethan missing the spring game is a big problem for me. That's what set the mood for me.
Mm-hmm. I think that can just be attributed to, like Austin said, not wanting to give anything away. I mean, I don't know what it's like for other teams, but if we're talking about this in the same sense as a preseason game, isn't that pretty typical for quarterbacks to rest those?
Yes. They do it all the time in the NFL.
Yeah, they do, but I would have liked to have seen him for 2 or 3 series, and
Mm-hmm. And that's fair too. I understand that. Like, you would like to see them get a little reps under them, see how much they've lost or how much knowledge they've gained from, especially if you're a freshman going into your sophomore year, see how much you've learned. But in Ethan's point of view, he's a senior. He's been there, done that. He's done a lot. So for him, it's kind of like, okay, I've been through this song and dance before, and it goes back to one of them things. He doesn't want to risk a freak injury.
Yeah.
You have a good point. And I think what worries me a little bit, and again, I'm not negative on Rutgers. I think that we don't know. It could be a very exciting year. And of course, we support them 1,000%. But one of my biggest worries is that given the personnel losses last year, the starting defense and offense is going to be a lot of transfers, and I wonder how are all these new people going to integrate? Are they going to be able to form a cohesive unit? Because it takes a long time to develop a team, to know each other's moves, and to know, and I worry that it's just going to be a lot of good players, but not enough players that have played together for enough time.
You know what I say to that, though? I say it's a good thing most of them transferred over here in the winter, because I think that a full off season is plenty of time for new guys to learn the system and how they gel with the quarterback.
I hope you're right.
And the thing too is, one of the other points I want to make on this is, I know it's very worrisome, like you said, Adam, that the backup quarterback was torching your starting secondary.
Yeah.
And I want to give you a little faith. Maybe there's the good and bad to this. The bad is maybe your starting secondary and defense isn't all that y'all thought, but you have a great backup that can back Ethan up if things go haywire. Or if Ethan has a really bad game, your backup could come in and finish the game and win the game.
Yeah, I mean, two things to say from that. One is he's projected to be our starter in 2026, Adam's magical year. So if anything, I thought you'd be a little happier about that. But then also 15 of 24, 220, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. That's solid. Don't get me wrong. That's really solid. And if you did that on a consistent basis, you're going to remain a starter in college football. But is that torching? Is that what we're calling torching?
Well, I got to tell you, Austin does make 2 good points. Number 1, to be happy about the backup QB's performance. And number 2, you know what? If they're not as good as we thought they'd be, well, it's a good thing that we found out now. Because now they know the work that they have to do. So in that regard, it's kind of like taking a test and you realize, whoa, I didn't get the grade I thought I was going to get. And that kind of failure teaches you a lot and gives you a path forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's better this than Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm. And this is what I want to say to that too, guys, is this is a learning period for the coaching staffs too, to see where all the teams, your players are at. Because Shiano's going to look at this film and be like, hey, we've got a solid backup quarterback. I like what I see. Hey, he may not challenge Ethan for the starting spot, but I really like that. If Ethan is struggling, I've got someone I can count on. But then he can kind of look at the defensive film and be like, okay, there were some bright spots, but then there's also the bad over here. Let's focus on this more. And
yeah, I mean, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say real fast, Gabe, and also, like, the fundamentals should be, like, in the fundamental stuff, they should already have that down. We're getting into the point now where whatever the bad is, they're trying to get that fat off the meat, so to speak.
Yeah, I was just going to say really quickly is, to me, Adam, the, this guy popped off, so then that means the defense struggled. To me, that anger, like, this is not a shot at all to this guy, but to me, that should be transferred over to Vernon Allen having 5 catches for 98 yards. He's talented enough to stay on this football roster, and either later this year or next year, if he either transfers or he remains and shoots up to a starting spot, he'll have that role. But to me, 5 for 98 from a 5th or 6th stringer, that's where you should be angry if you're the defense.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, look, I bet you there's a lot of Rutgers fans who don't like me. They say this Lamparello guy, he's a bum. He's always so negative. And I think you guys make a good point. You have to look at the positive and see development in these players. But I'm also the kind of guy where I'm going to be honest about where we're falling short and not sugarcoat it, because if we're going to get better, we've really got to acknowledge the bad and not put on those rose-colored glasses like so many fans do.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with you, Adam. I'm not saying we shouldn't look at that. We absolutely should look at some of that bad, because how else are we going to grow and get better, not as just humans, but as football players, especially for those young kids. I just think sometimes people take the spring game out of proportion. Not you guys specifically or the fan bases. It's just some people are like, oh my gosh, you see what happened this? He got torched for 200 yards receiving. The EBs suck. We need to get rid of them prompto. That's my point. People overreact too fast.
You guys brought me back to balance, to moderation, to reasonableness. I thank you.
You know what I think your anger comes from? It comes from
you.
Yeah, me. But also on on top of me, it comes from the fact that most Rutgers fans were either not alive or do not remember the 2006 magical season that you remember like it was yesterday.
You are 100% right. You literally took the thoughts right out of my mind, because as you were talking, I was saying, yeah, exactly like the 2006 season. So right on the money, man, because
Yeah.
I'm hungry for like Rutgers to be nationally relevant. And every year, like last year was a heartbreaker with the injuries and falling so close yet so far away. And it's like, I guess I'm just a little bit impatient, and I got to take a deep breath, like Austin said, and look at the glass of roll.
I mean, look, I'm a Mets fan. I'm a Jets fan. I'm a Knicks fan. I get it.
I'm sorry.
And here's the thing too. It's okay, Adam, like I said, to have these expectations. But it's April. We just got to calm down. That's how they're work in progress. Shiano is going to get it right, and Rutgers is going to get on the winning track. I have faith.
I appreciate that, Austin. It makes me feel better. You're a good man.
And a couple more things I want to talk with y'all about. Gabe, what the Jets did in the draft, they took an old lineman, and that's exactly what you did not want.
You know what?
What are your thoughts?
You know what I will say, though? To counteract that, I didn't think they'd be taking Mason Taylor in the second round. And Mason Taylor is a damn good tight end. So, in theory, missing out on Warren does suck. But you know what sucks more? Imagine being the Bears and taking Colston Loveland over him. That's going to sting.
Oh!
That's going to sting for years to come. Colston is a great guy. Great. I mean, it's ironic, but to me, his ceiling is sort of like a Jack Doyle, who was most known for being on the team that Warren went to. But Warren's ceiling, man, that's Travis Kelce. That's Kittle. You know, that's prime Darren Waller. But Going back to the Jets, taking an O-lineman is what I didn't want to do because I wanted to get a guy with the ball in his hands. But Mason Taylor, man, he is very, very talented. And I am super happy that he's a New York Jet. I love Stone Smart. We got him, too, in the offseason to be our starting tight end. But Mason Taylor is going to be our starting tight end by the year's end.
Dave, why do the Jets always do this? Why do they do this? Why do they always disappoint their fan base with that first pick? You see hope and optimism dashed like that. Why do they pick it up on the line?
Every year, I am in the minority in that because when we got Mekhi Becton, I wanted Judy. When we got Fashanu, I wanted Brock Bowers. I don't think it's just Adam. It comes down to the fact that every year we draft an offensive lineman in the first round or a defensive lineman, and they may be good, they may be bad, but in the end, nothing changes. That's why I wanted Warren. But Mason Taylor is right up there with TJ Warren. In my opinion, he's the second best tight end in the draft. Could be the best, but I'll say second best, and he's definitely better than Colston Loveland.
But it's how many tight ends have impact in the NFL except for like a Travis Kelce? They're too slow.
Well, and here's the thing too, guys. Like, and I want to say this: you all were talking about Will Johnson. I know we all talk about Shador slipping and that being a travesty. Will Johnson slipping as far as he did, that was a real big to me. Like, okay, I mean, I didn't know this, but apparently it was because of a knee injury he had, and a lot of scouts were worried about that.
Yeah, and you know what, Austin? I don't know if you were watching earlier when I said that Shador was the biggest margin of error by Mel Kiper being 139 picks wrong. But if it wasn't for that, guess what his biggest margin of error in NFL history would have been? Will Johnson. So his two worst margins of error were in this year's draft.
Yep. And listen, I even told you guys, I thought Will Johnson could go top 5. That's how good I thought he was.
I said that too. I said pick 5.
I agree.
But Adam, I know you were tempted to say Shador. I know you were tempted.
No, I am just mourning the loss of Dylan Gabriel. My heart goes out to his family. But Austin, I made a controversial statement before, but I'm not so sure Cam Ward's going to be that good in the NFL. I think he's overrated. What do you think?
So here's the thing. I like Cam Ward. He's got a lot of different quarterback styles in him. He can make the throws on the run. His scramble ability, he's very strong for a small quarterback. But that's the thing. I think he's Kyler Murray size. That's what holds him back, in my opinion. Yeah, his height, yes. And I feel like defenses are going to prey on that because in college, if you've got a 5-star O-line, you could sit back there all day and just sit back there and twiddle your thumbs waiting to throw. In the NFL, everyone's a baller. Everyone can play. Cam Ward's not going to have time just to sit back there and do Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers-esque throw on the runs, back-footed like he did at college at Washington State and Miami. I think he'll be good for the Titans. I really do. I like what they're building over there with Bryce Callahan, but I think the first couple games are going to be a reality check for him.
Yeah. I think he's going to have a bad rookie year, but his ceiling is definitely Pro Bowler. And, I don't know why this name comes to mind, but for me, David Garrard is the name that comes to mind when I think of Cam Ward. Like someone with a strong arm. He's speedy. He can make good passes, but he might not contribute to wins.
Mm-hmm. And I don't disagree with you, Adam. Like what he did at Miami, that was a spectacular season, and I could see why a lot of people were raving over him. But we also have to look at the whole body of work at Washington State. He would tail off towards the end of every season. He would start like a house of fire, and then all of a sudden, you would see the fumbles, the turnovers, and I tell Titans fans, be cautious with that. Like his one good year at Miami does not make up for everything you saw at Washington State.
I totally agree with you. And it's like, okay, so you have a team that did not win many games last year. They decided to draft what they perceive will be a star quarterback. That's not going to improve your team because your quarterback doesn't have a team around him. I think they should focus more on building the foundation, in the trenches and the skill positions. I would have picked Travis Hunter.
Adam, I don't know. He says that Treylon Burks is a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL.
Who said that?
Cam Ward.
Really?
Yeah, he said Treylon Burks, top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. No, it's not true. He's not even a starter. He's not even a starting wide receiver.
I was going to say that would shock me, and then I would really need the defibrillator.
But
yes,
you never know.
Yeah, Austin, going back to your point and about watching for the grand scheme of things, our good pal Jackson Johnson, who runs the Voice of College Football at Alabama, he had Cam Ward as the 10th best quarterback coming into last year.
See?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Austin.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I think he had Raiola over him.
Did you say Dylan Raiola?
I think so. I think he had Raiola over him.
He must be friends with Mel Kiper.
Poor Jackson. But anywho, back to your point though, Gabe.
I'm just joking, buddy.
And the thing is too, like you said, him having him at 10, I mean, that was not a bad position going into last year. Because Cam Ward has had brilliant flashes of greatness. We've seen it. We've all seen it. My problem with him is, and I even said, I was an advocate of taking Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter at number 1. And people thought I was nuts for saying that. And I'm like, listen, I know it's not the sexy pick, but Abdul Carter's a once-in-a-generation defensive end.
Yeah. I can also point, and at the end of my finger, that trajectory is where Abdul Carter went to high school. He went to high school 500 feet away from me.
Really?
What?
Yeah, at LaSalle College High School, which I'm right around the corner from.
I totally agree with you on Abdul Carter. And the New York Giants, they had an amazing draft. Abdul Carter, Jackson Dart, and Scatterbo from our Arizona State Sun Devils. I mean, these are types of players who have the heart, the talent, and the team-oriented mindset that build the foundation that you don't get just by drafting a star quarterback.
I think Dart is the only real question mark out of those you said.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is too, and on this Shador topic real fast, I'll say this. A lot of people were upset that he got taken so late. And to me, that says something about your character because he's got all the talent in the world. I like him. I like Coach Prime. Got all the talent in the world. I think he could be a good NFL quarterback. But just his character, I think rub people the wrong way, rub the teams the wrong way. Like we always talk about on this show, fellas, character. You got to have character, and your character follows you wherever you go. And I feel like that's what cost Shador, his cocky, arrogance character, thinking he's holier than everybody. And NFL teams are like, you know what? Eat some humble pie, and maybe you'll learn a little respect.
One thing I will say
Yes.
is I'm pleasantly surprised that he didn't bitch about going round number 5. And instead, like every other prospect and like he was supposed to do, he celebrated the fact that he got drafted instead.
You want to know why?
Good.
Why? Yeah, well, I think what happened was he was so arrogant that he failed to do the easiest thing in the world, which was be humble and have good interviews. I think this getting picked in the 5th round is an opportunity for him to learn and could be a life-changing moment for him if he understands why. If he doesn't and doubles down on the arrogance, he'll be out of the league within a couple of years.
And I'm rooting for him to turn it around and, become the person that everyone knows he can be if he just tones it down. I'm rooting for that. I want him to do well in the NFL, and I want him to be humble and have a successful career. It's unfortunately not as likely as it should be, but that's why I'm happy. I'm happy with how he reacted to getting drafted in the first place. Yes, it sucks that he slid. He never complained about the slide. We saw some frustrated faces out of Deion Sanders. Obviously, the prank call, there's no place for that. But
you know what I think happened too? I mean, and by the way, Nico Imaliava should take note of what happened to Sanders. I think either Shador's agent, a family member, somebody called him and said, now when you get picked, you are going to behave appropriately. I think someone said, this is going to be very revealing how you appear publicly after this slight. And he did the right thing, and hopefully it's a step in the right direction of more humility for him.
I mean, getting drafted in the 5th round, that was the slice of humble pie. So hopefully, now he gets a fresh slate, and we have to see how he acts.
And here's the thing, too. And what I want to say is this about that is the thing is, like you said, humble pie is good. It builds character. And like you said, Adam, I wouldn't be surprised if someone close to him was like, hey, you need to show a little more respect. Act like you've been here before. Don't act all cocky and confident. Yes, I understand your dad has uber swagger and has that aura, as the kids like to say. But Deion's backed it up, and he's earned the right to have that.
Bingo.
And Shador has not yet. Not to say he can't get to that level, but he hasn't earned that right yet. His dad has. So his dad.
He was that guy in high school. He was that guy in college. But you're right.
But yeah, I mean, the first night of the NFL draft, you don't sit in a room with a big sign that says legendary. Oh, you think you're legendary already? Well, you're going to be legendary to go into the 5th round because of your behavior. It's like you got to be humble and have the character. Character is what builds the foundation of a team and of just a good life.
I got to step aside real quick because it's getting dark out here.
Well, and last couple things I'll say to you all is Jalen Milroe. I've always liked Milroe, but he won me over by being there for his teammates on draft night, being in the green room with his teammates, even though he wasn't going to go round 1. That won me some respect for him. Uber amounts to put his ego aside and was like, hey, I was taught these values. I'm going to be here for my team, whether I get drafted or not.
Austin, you're 100% right. And Milroe really won me over when he spoke to reporters for about 10 minutes the day before the draft, and what he was saying, how his parents instilled in him great values, and he doesn't care if he goes first or last, and he doesn't care about where he's on the depth chart. He focuses on competing and being part of the team. The man is a true example of not only a potentially great player, but a great person.
Yeah, I'm rooting for Milroe all the way. He may have had a down year in terms of expectations, but I think he's going to be a great NFL quarterback down the line. He's not going to start this year. He's not start next year. But eventually, when his number is called, he's going to shine, and he's going to be a Pro Bowler.
And the last thing I want to ask you guys is this: Mr. Kyle Monungai gets drafted by the Bears in round 7. Now, I have to eat a little humble pie myself. I got a little overconfident. I thought Monungai would go in the second round.
First round.
I thought someone would take a flyer on him. My bad.
Well,
But
it was a bold prediction.
But I think he'll do good at the Bears. In all sincerity, though, I know you compared him to a Sony Michel, Gabe. If he gets that chance, I know the obvious cop for a player of his stature is Derrick Henry, but he's got a long way to get to Derrick Henry. I liken him to, and this is just me. I'm liking him to an Ezekiel Elliott type. That's my comp. He's an okay pass catcher, can block a little, but he's a hard-nosed runner, going to get in your face, hit you in the face mask, and he's going to make you feel the ground. That's kind of my comp for him. What do y'all think?
I think it's a good comparison, but I think Elliott's just a better player. And that's what concerns me, is that Monungai is just really a very, very, very good player with a lot of great characteristics, great character, but I'm concerned that he just isn't good enough for the NFL.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Mr. Gabe?
Monungai, though, please understand.
What about you, Mr. Gabe?
I was going to say, I think that he is good enough for the NFL, but I don't know if a team will give him a chance. But I know he is good enough, because to be a running back in the NFL, the difference between great and elite is significant, but the difference between solid and good is not that much. And I think he can be a very solid running back in the NFL.
I think Monungai can have a career in the NFL if he carves out a specific and limited role where, 3rd and 2, 4th and 1, where he can grind out those yards. I don't see him as an every down back. I see him as a situational back, and with the right team, he could have a lot of value.
You know what I say? In contrary, I say the Chicago Bears were rumored to draft Ashton Jeanty because they supposedly are looking to move on from either DeAndre Swift or, make him a backup. So I think that he's on the right team. He's going to make the roster. And, drafting a running back for the Chicago Bears, that means that they want him to hopefully – they're looking at him to see the field this year. So I think he'll play a few steps, and I think he could be RB2 by the end of the year.
Mm-hmm. And here's the thing, too, guys. I want to bring this up real quick. Is Isaiah Pacheco, right, for the Kansas City Chiefs, a Rutgers alum. I know you love him to death. I could see Kyle Monungai having that type of role where an injury happens and Monungai comes in and makes the most of that opportunity, and then that starter never gets their position back, kind of like what happened with Pacheco.
I hope you guys are right, but when I look at Pacheco, when I look at Ezekiel Elliott, I just feel like Monungai has the same characteristics, but I just think he's a slight level below in talent. But I hope I'm wrong. I mean, hey, Gabe, you've been right once in a while. Hopefully this will, you'll be right again.
Gabe's got to be right.
Seeing Monungai, his reaction too, when he hung up the phone, right, and you see him go, it's the Bears, and then everyone was cheering and hugging him. That's not just because he got drafted. They knew he got drafted when he got the phone call, but they were happy with that circumstance because they knew that he has a chance to get a real opportunity in the NFL. I'm
thrilled for the guy because this is a player who really grinded it out day after day. Carried his
offense. Yeah,
he is an example of what a great player and a great man is, and I hope that he succeeds. He's the kind of character, the culture that exemplifies Rutgers football.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, too, and I want to ask you guys this, and then I promise I will skedaddle for you. Who is that one Rutgers player that you think everyone slept on through this draft process that could make an impact besides Monungai?
I already named mine. Mine is Holland Pierce all the way. It's funny that he went to the Eagles as an undrafted free agent because my comparison for him ultimately is Mekhi Becton.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Mr. Adam? Who's your Rutgers sleeper that didn't get drafted or drafted?
Demir Miller.
Oh, okay.
I liked what I saw. Yeah, I liked what I saw from him last year. If he has the intangibles, I think he could be not a star wide receiver, but a very reliable wide receiver. So I'm going to go with Demir Miller.
Do you think that do you think that with a good quarterback, he could get 900 to 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns?
No.
Ooh.
No. I'm just making fun of a certain comment on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot for a receiver to get. If he gets that, he'll be getting a big payday.
I'm not saying he's going to do that. I'm just saying someone said that about him in college, that if he had a good quarterback, he could get those numbers. They don't think.
Okay. Inside joke. I got you. Very safe.
You know what's so cool? What's so awesome about Rutgers is that we just don't know what's going to happen this year. It's going to be so exciting.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be I think it's going to be an exciting year for them, but I think they're building in the right direction. And with college football the way it is, you don't know what can happen. If the chips fall the right way, it could be a great year. So the anticipation and just the hope, like with every other team, is going to make this another great year.
Mm-hmm. And I'll say this, as always, guys, thank you for having me on. And Adam, remember, deep breaths, good buddy. It'll be all right. I understand right now it's looking bleak for you, but just remember, this is college football preseason. We've got time. They're going to fix it. Is that what
you were saying, Austin, when Aaron Gordon may or may not have won the game?
Listen here, Gabe. Let's not turn this into a basketball show. I'm sure Mark would not appreciate this. Let's leave that alone right now.
Austin's giving some nice advice and helping me, and you intervene and act like this. You should be.
Oh yeah, I'm just such a terrible person. You know, I'm really bringing the feng shui out of the show.
Listen, you have only yourself to blame. You start the show outside, then you go in the dark. You don't know where you are. I mean, it's very concerning.
And you're wearing an Oregon shirt.
I'm just taking after Aaron Rodgers. I'm going on my darkness retreat.
See, how is Adam ever supposed to know if you're with him or not? Like, this is ridiculous.
He's very mean to me.
I know, right, Adam? I got to come in here and fix it sometimes, but it's all right. It's all right. But
you know what? You're not Austin Williams. You're Mediator Williams.
Mediator Williams?
Austin has brought me back from the brink tonight. So, Austin, I appreciate it. I'm feeling calmer. And now I'm just going to maintain this for tonight. I'm going to go pay tribute to Billy Gabriel. Gabriel, you could too.
Go have a good bubble bath, Adam.
I will, with Epsom salts.
Oh, okay. There you go.
I'm just joking. Austin, it's always awesome having you on the show. And, great friend of the show. Keep calling in, buddy. Great conversations with you. All right. So Austin may be having computer difficulties like I had before, like Gabe had. And, yes, I think that he has left. Austin, thanks so much for coming on the show. Always provides excellent commentary. Really nice guy, and we appreciate the insightful thoughts and conversation. Gabe, do you have any final thoughts on this very weird but fun show today?
Yeah, you know what? I had a bunch of points to make, and I think we got through all of it regardless of the shenanigans. I'm still optimistic on the year. I'm very happy with how our draft turned out, because going into day 3, like I said, it didn't look like anyone was going to get drafted when the best position ranking available was 13th. So we had our ups and downs, but good outlook on last week, and it shouldn't be as chaotic this next week moving forward.
Yeah, well said. And there's a lot of things to be positive about, and there's a lot of uncertainties that are going to play out in the coming months. So, we may be on here as news develops later this week. We were on 3 times last week. We suspect we're going to pop up live in a couple of days, but we'll always be here at 7 p.m. on Mondays for these ever-evolving, slightly weird, but always entertaining shows. So if you enjoyed the show, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. We're going to see you very soon. But regardless, always 7 p.m. Monday evenings. Go Scarlet Knights.
Go Scarlet Knights.